Hello, comic book worms. This is Naman. Welcome to my channel. We have a special guest today, AznFunk. uh, Otaku bro, he's gonna interview AznFunk, and I'm gonna try to bring in the question from the chat room. So let's let Otaku take over from here.
Yeah, we got a great show today. Again, this is part of our ongoing series for AAPI Heritage Month, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is the entire month of May. And fortunately, we've had a lot of great collectors and creators on the show, and it's been a wonderful month. And so thank you for, joining us and tuning in and, having interest in what we're doing, because it's very important, I think, to highlight the Asian American community with all that's going on. And so today we continue. We've got one of the most just engaging people on social media, on YouTube. And he's got just an amazing collection of books. He does some of the best, I think, unboxing CGC grade reveals on the channel. So let us welcome AznFunk. AznFunk, can you just kind of introduce yourself to the
Before you guys go, what are you guys drinking today?
Yeah, ever since my wife got back, I am not drinking anything.
Oh, it's just coconut water.
Okay, that's all right. That's fine. Simple Simon said you are cooler than Simple Simon, so we'll see. We'll see.
That's not true. We were talking earlier who was cooler. It's definitely Simple Simon. He's the coolest one.
Okay, let's
So just introduce yourself to the good people out there. Let us know what you do.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really honored. My name is Mark, aka AznFunk Comics. I have a YouTube channel that has unboxing videos and comic convention videos. Basically, it's centered around collecting either comics, cards, art, basically anything nerd or fandom related. But yeah. So I have a channel, have an Instagram, and just another huge fan of comics in the comic book community.
Yeah, and again, your collection is from what I've seen on the programs, because I do whenever your video pops up with the CGC stuff, I'm tuning in. And again, you've got some amazing books. So we are going to get into your collection a little bit, but before we do, let's kind of set you up kind of bring out your origin story. What got you into comics? Who did you collect? Where's sort of your sweet spot in terms of collections?
Yeah. So that's, I basically started collecting trading cards. That was like the first thing I can remember as like a thing that I liked hoarding. And this was like back in the early 90s. I think the first set of cards was like the 1992, 93, like Marvel Masterpiece cards by Joe Jusko. So he's like a pretty famous American illustrator, painter. And yeah, his cards like were, of these characters I'd never heard of or seen of. And I was like, oh, I wonder if they're like based on something. And it was based on comic book characters. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll collect the cards, and then I'll also collect the comics. And then I didn't read a lot of the comics until I found this character called Spider-Man. And I was just like, who's this guy? And Mark Bagley, who's a famous Spider-Man artist, he was like the first comic book artist that like really opened my eyes to like how cool comics could be. So yeah, that was basically my entry point into comics. Just as a reader. But I didn't really become a collector of comics until like my adult life. I didn't really like look at comics as an investment or as a piece of art. I saw comics as like something you read, like either a magazine or a newspaper, and after that you were done. You threw it away, right? And yeah, it wasn't until I think probably around I don't know, 18, 19, where I was like, oh, I really, I'm looking at comics in a very different way. I've gone to conventions where I've met like the artists and the writers and the creators and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, the people behind the comics and the characters they're very interesting. And so it made me like really appreciate a lot of the comics I used to read. And so like, that's when I started to like, oh, I should collect these. And then I was like, oh, I've seen some comics where you can get them encapsulated or slabbed. And I was like, what's that? And then that was a whole rabbit hole of, like CGC and stuff. That was when I was like, oh, I see why comics can be really expensive. And so, yeah. And then just like the whole idea of trying to get your comics, witnessed and slabbed and signed was like a whole new like journey in collecting. And so like I spent like a few years really like going hard on collecting that kind of stuff. And then you realize that you run out of space really fast.
Yeah.
And so then, you're like, okay, well, I can spend a ton of money and that's fine. And it's like, it sucks, but it's really the space that reminds you how much you have. And so, like recently I've really tried, like I went from like no slabbed comic books to like probably, I don't know, 100, maybe 200.
No
I mean,
way.
that's not a lot. I mean, there are some people who have like
I know
hundreds and thousands, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, in like the spectrum of collectors, I'm probably like a normal collector. I'm not like hardcore, but even like I feel like normal collectors can have like a ton.
Yeah.
And so, and like I don't have a basement. I don't have a comic book room. I don't have like a spare room for stuff. My closets are super small. So I think I'm in this stage right now in collecting where I'm trying to downsize and only keep comics that really mean something to me. Because before I would just, if I like this cover, I'd buy it. Oh, I like this character, I'll buy that. Like, oh, is it 2 for 1? I'll buy that too. And it's just like, then you have but it doesn't mean anything to me so much. And so that's kind of where I am right now. I'm really like only holding on to like really meaningful comics. And like these are like some of these comics that you'll see tonight. They're not worth anything to anyone else. They're priceless, but they mean something to me. So, that's pretty much where I am now in my comic book collecting journey.
So I go ahead, Mama.
Yeah, those are the comic books I'm really more impressed with nowadays anymore, because everybody has that key issues that everybody want to show, and those have already been shown, right?
Yeah, like right. You can only like there's only so many times you can watch someone unbox like a 9.8 like New Mutants 98 or like a Amazing Fantasy 15 or X-Men 1. It's like everyone has those big books, and it's just of course you want to own those. I want to own those too.
Amazing Fantasy 15 is a pretty big one.
No, yeah, exactly.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah. But for some reason, everybody has a copy, except me. So that's frustrating.
Me too. Except me too.
But
so you mentioned there was a point in your adult life where it became, and that's where I want some more clarity. What was that moment that said, oh my gosh, the comic books are great, because you've been collecting, or you've been kind of collecting comic cards that got you into comic books, and you're reading comic books. But what was it, the pandemic? What kind of pushed you over and made you realize this is a hobby that or this is something that you wanted to kind of put more resources and time into?
I think it was a mix of like the pandemic and just having like some extra income, and just like time to, you think about like I have a lot of friends I follow on Instagram and stuff like that. And they're always like, oh, I just, I went to a convention and I found this thing that no one else knew about. And I was like, oh, that seems pretty fun. And then I would see another guy like, oh, I was at a flea market and like the seller didn't know how much this was worth, and I was able to get it for like, $5. And it's you're like, oh man, like that seller was an idiot. So like those kinds of things got me like, oh, maybe I should start going out to like conventions and comic shops and like looking through boxes. And then like as soon as I started doing that, I was like, wow, that really was fun. And there's like this thing, on Instagram that comic book collectors do where it's called like a random pull, and you film yourself flipping through a box of comics, and then you just randomly pull one, and it's like you don't know what's going to be, and it's like a reveal. So just little things like that got me kind of like excited. And yeah, I think there's like that thrill when you do find a comic book that is valuable, not necessarily to you, but like it's valuable to other people, or it's like considered expensive, but it's like in like a dollar bin, or it's like on sale or something, or like the seller doesn't know how much it's worth. Like that kind of like got me excited. But to be honest, in reality, that doesn't happen a lot. I think that only happened like twice for me in like 5 or 6 years. So it doesn't happen a lot. Like, don't think that you're going to go out every time and find like a really like big book for like $5. Not going to happen. Like most of the time now, all sellers, like they either know how much they are, or they've raised the price, or when you bring a book up to them to buy it, they'll look it up on the internet and then charge, and then tell you how much it is, because that's how much someone's selling on eBay, which is like garbage.
That's the worst.
You're like, oh, I found this book, and you're like,
and you dug for like hours, right, to find that $1 book, and they're charging you like $5. That's the worst.
You're going through like the back issues where no one's looking, and then you go up to the front, and they're like, oh, let me look this up, and you're like, oh, crap, and they're like, oh, this book's like $500, and you're like, all right, no, I'll see you later, bye, and you just leave. So
I just watched a Simple Simon where he had to haggle prices from garage sale.
Oh yeah. I know. See, and that's the thing. I just watch Simple Simon do all the work, and I enjoy it.
Simple Simon, he's another guy we like watching, and we would have had him on, but again, this is a AAPI show, which means Asian American, not Asian Australian.
Wow.
But if we have an AAPI month for Australian Asians, we'll definitely have him.
That's hilarious.
You may not want to come anyways.
It's funny. That reminds me, I was doing a giveaway, and I was like, sorry, this giveaway is only for you if you live in America. And then I said, sorry, Simple Simon, you can't sign up for this giveaway. So I was like, mention him whenever I can't ship anything to like overseas or something.
Yeah.
I assume you're Mark. Can you answer Simple Simon's question?
See, if Mark could have a sketch cover or original art commission done by any one artist, which artist would it be? Ooh. It's funny.
I know my answer. My answer for that.
It's funny you mentioned that. I'm going to show you.
I know your answer too, Otaku.
I'm going to show you something.
Everybody knows my answer.
This is. I'm gonna show this right now because I have it here.
Okay.
Since Simple Simon's curious, so.
Okay, well, hold on.
Here, can you see this?
Oh, Roy Thomas.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know who Roy Thomas is, he is a Marvel Comics writer. He is credited for co-creating Wolverine. And I saw that he was doing sketches at a convention, and I was like, that would be cool to have him. He's not an artist, which is why this Wolverine is terrible. But it's funny because he just drew this Wolverine, but really I like Roy Thomas because he created one of my favorite characters, which is Morph, but back then he was called Changeling. So anyway, this was my wish sketch commission from any person. I guess he's not an artist, but this is like one of my favorite treasured sketches.
That's great.
Like, it's like
that's awesome.
It's such a terrible drawing, but I love it so much.
Yeah, Roy Thomas is a legend. Roy Thomas is a comic book legend. So just getting a book signed by him is amazing. But to get a really bad sketch by him is also pretty cool.
Absolutely. And usually, like if someone's not an artist, they usually just draw like either just a little head or like maybe just a smile, or they just do a little like shape. But this is like a full-on sketch.
Wow.
Like he spent more than more than a minute doing. I don't know how long. I wasn't.
That's pretty daring. That's pretty daring. But he's famous as him. He could have said, I know how to draw, but
yeah. He could have.
Talented people who draw.
I was expecting like basically a smiley face. I wasn't expecting like blood on the claws. Like he really spent time on this. And this sketch makes me laugh every time. So definitely one of my.
That's a keeper. Yep,
yeah. Oh, and this partial blank cover is. I actually saw this in London, and it's real. I haven't seen this too often, where it's like the Hulk 181. It has this like.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really really
UK
cool.
variant.
I think so. I should check. Yeah, it's
got like pence on it.
Yeah.
Or pound.
Oh yeah, wait, does it? You see it?
They have those.
It says $3.99. It says $3.99. I think it was.
Yeah, they have those.
Yeah.
For like
okay. Yeah, I think when I was there, that was the first time I saw it. So I was like, oh man, this must be super rare, and I didn't spend too much money on it, but like, yeah, I was like, I don't know when I would ever use this blank cover for anything, and I was just like, this is the perfect time to have him sign it or do a sketch. So, yeah,
amazing.
Super happy, and like this. This is like the actual value of this is probably like $80 total, including getting this slabbed at CGC. But like to me, it's like I would never trade this or sell it. So
that's priceless. That's priceless. That's a real 101 by a legend. So great idea. You actually have a really that's what I appreciate about when you go out and get sketches and signatures and get them slabbed. First of all, you get these wonderful, amazing grades, but you just have a good sense of like knowing which books to submit and get signed. So we're all curious as to what you're going to share. Let's just get right into the book. So I'm not going to put any limit. You can show off as many books as you'd like. We're just going to see what you share.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, I mean, I only brought 5, so that's but there's a couple of big ones, we can okay. So, how earlier I was talking about like, I don't really go for a lot of like Grail comics because they're just too expensive and they're hard to find, only because people keep them and never sell them. But there was a seller on Instagram by the name of Young Comics Collect. He sells comics pretty frequently. Really cool guy from New York. And I was just scrolling through his Instagram, because he posts everything that he sells. And I scrolled, and I think I went back like 2 or 3 years, like on his thing. I don't know why I did that, but like I was like, I wonder if he's got some really like nice comics, like Silver Age or like Bronze Age comics, because his prices were really like pretty good. They were fair market value, which means that they weren't like super expensive. And I saw a picture of the Fantastic Four #1. And I've shown this book before, and I was like, I wonder if he still has this because this was posted 2 years ago. And I DM'd him, and then he was like, yeah, I think I still have that. And then I was like, do you still want to sell it? And so he was like, I mean, maybe. I said, would you do a trade for it then? Because I think it was obviously priced out of my budget. I never buy a book at full price or even at fair market value. I always try to like bargain or haggle or find it at a discount or something. And I was like, I wonder if I could trade a bunch of other books for it, because I had a lot of comics that I was trying to either get rid of or whatever. So I traded him like 7 or 8 other comic books that they were all like first appearances of like Electro or like Rhino or Craven. Like these were like first appearances. Like even like Tomb of Dracula number, which one was that? The first Blade. I can't remember. Was that Tomb of Dracula something 12? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah. So like first appearance comics, and then
high grade ones.
I would say about mid grade. It's funny when you mentioned that I always like to, get, or I happen to find books that are high grade. I do, but I always, if I'm getting something slabbed for a signature or a sketch, I don't really care too much about the grade. Like this could have been like a 5.0 and I would have been just as happy. But even when I'm after these Grail comics, like I'm always like, if the lower the grade, the better, because then there's less competition from other collectors. Like no one's going to buy a 0.5 comic book. Oh man, I love the best offer eBay books. I don't look at a book if that option isn't available. Anyway, here we go. So this is Fantastic Four #1. This is not the this is not a reprint. This is not that what is it? The
Facsimile?
Great Britain UK reprint. This is the real one. And it's a 0.5. It's probably the lowest grade you can get. On a
well, NG's the lowest, or is it PG?
Oh,
or what? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So let me rephrase that. This is the lowest numbered grade you could get, and like it's like it's missing. The centerfold is missing. The centerfold is missing.
Okay,
which affects story, which kind of sucks. But it for some reason got a blue label.
Yeah,
Exactly. It would normally get like a purple label or even a green label, one of the two, right? It wouldn't get a blue label. So I don't know how that happened. But that was probably before I think this is definitely in an old CGC slab. Like this is probably when they first started. So I think they didn't even have like different colored labels or didn't have so many different rules. So I kind of got under the radar on this one. But anyway, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever get another opportunity to get this book. And I normally, I don't have like the first appearance of Spider-Man. I don't even have like Amazing Spider-Man #1. I don't have X-Men 1. But, if there was like one first appearance of like a Silver Age book by Stan Lee, this was the one I wanted to get. And yeah, it's like, I don't know what other opportunity I would have gotten to be able to get this. Cause like, no one, I guess at the time, no one was looking at Fantastic Four. Everyone was already looking at Spider-Man, X-Men, because they were all rumored to be in.
When was that?
MCU. I got this, I think, in 2020, late 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It's been at least a year and a half, I think. Yeah. So no one was.
It is during the pandemic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
which
definitely.
Which is right around like, I guess it's definitely gone up a lot since then.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, even in the last like 3-4 months, this book is like, and it's like, I'm never gonna sell this. I don't even think like, I mean, I could, if I tried to sell it now, I'd probably make a little more back.
Yeah.
But
it's presenting really well. There doesn't seem to be any like major creases or anything.
It's definitely not like. I would say it does present very well.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any chunks missing. There isn't like a huge. It's not really like the colors are pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky for it to like look good. I mean, obviously, it's missing a centerfold.
Yeah.
But like if you slab a comic book, you're not reading it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
What does the back cover look like?
Wow. Oh, it is missing a chunk right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's missing a chunk, but I mean, it's not on the front. That's exactly what you'd want from a 0.5, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're buying a 0.5, then you're buying it because it looks good just on the cover.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's definitely. And then I don't know if you've heard about these rubber grips. Oh man, these are hilarious. But yeah, this is like the only comic book that I have that's in like a rubber protective thing. Like it's kind of like a phone case.
Yeah.
Because like the CGC case is really old.
Yeah.
And I think like if you drop it a certain way, it'll just like crack open. So I'm like really paranoid about that. But
Wow.
but yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
awesome
that's
book.
like that's I think probably the most expensive comic book I have in my collection.
Yeah.
And for other collectors, like that's probably one of their least expensive. You know, they probably have like way more expensive comics, but for me, that's like, you know, it's like I'm sweating just talking about it.
Who are these other collectors you're talking about?
I'm talking about Simple Simon.
So, Simple Simon. Yeah, I mean that's a grail for pretty much, you know, 99.9% of collectors, I would say. But
you play basketball, right?
not with that comic.
all right, let's see the next one. Yeah,
Oh man,
it's turning out as it's hyped up to be. That was an amazing book.
Oh man. All right. This is a fun one. So this is actually, I think, the first comic book I ever got slabbed. This is let me rephrase it. This is actually the first comic book that I physically went to a convention for, and I was like, I want to get this guy to sign it, and I'm going because CGC was at the convention, so I was able to go to the CGC booth, tell a witness to come with me. They follow you to the artist, get it signed. They look at it, and then you bring it back to their booth, and then they take it back and whatever. So that the first time I ever did that was for this a guy named Kevin Conroy. So he's the voice of Batman from Batman the animated series. And this was one of my favorite covers. And I was like, I was like, oh, Kevin Conroy is going to be at this convention. I have to meet him. Like, I've never seen his name on a convention in my area. So I was like, I got to go. Let me see. Let me try to, I have a lot of lights in this room. So anyway, I was like, okay, I'm going to get in line and get this signed. Right. And the fun thing about this was they allowed you to have him write other things on it. Like, so it's called like a remark, right? Like they asked you, what else do you want him to say? And I was like, just like his name is okay. I don't need him to write me anything. Like, and he's like, no, it's free. It's not extra. It doesn't charge you extra for it. I was like, oh, okay. So they gave me a Post-it, and I was like, I don't know what do I want him to say, because I never knew that was a thing. And so when I finally got up there, I was like, okay, I know what I want him to write. So I had him write, to my biggest fan, Mark, Kevin Conroy. So I was like, that's perfect. But what I didn't realize was that CGC on the label also writes what he writes. So it says, signed, to my biggest fan, Mark.
Whoa!
So, I mean, it's just funny because if I wanted to sell this to somebody, it wouldn't be, they would pay less because it has my name on it.
Yeah, unless you sold to someone with the same
Mark
spelling.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was cool. I didn't know that they actually, like CGC actually writes down what's written on the comic.
I didn't know that either. That's first. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I love this cover,
that's a great cover.
Having Poison Ivy on here. Yeah. I just like how like Batman's like just standing there being like trapped by a tree, and then Poison Ivy's like seducing him. I think it's like hilarious.
Did you watch the animated series?
I did. Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Don't you think the artists would appreciate more if you ask for your personal name to it, because they know you're not going to sell it? You know what I mean? Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. When I was in line, my friend was with me, and he's a huge Batman fan. Shout out to Myron. And he was also getting a signature too. And I can't remember what he wrote, but he just it was just like, he had him say, like, I am the knight, or something, like a quote from the show. And I was like, oh man, that's so good. And then I was like, but I want him to write my name, like, I don't know. I just thought it was cool if he would write my name. So I was like, all right, it sounds cheesy, but
I think Naman has a point. I think the artists do appreciate the fact that if they sign something, it's for you, and you're going to keep it, and it's because it's fan service. But the flip side of that, I know the artists, like I remember I went to a Comic-Con and Jim was joking, like, I don't care if you sell it. He was basically saying, like, I'll do this remark for you, and these are going to be given out as prizes, and don't feel pressure to, like, if you want to sell it, go ahead. I'm not going to give you a guilt trip about that. So they're really cool about whatever you want to do with it. It's fine.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I figured, if I had my name on there, then it's kind of like saying like, oh, this guy's going to be keeping it in his collection forever. It's not like he's just trying to flip it and then sell it for like 3 times as much. But yeah, I thought that was really cool, and that I think that was also like that fueled me to keep like doing that. I was like, oh, I'm everywhere I go, I'm gonna get like a signature, and I'm gonna have them write my name on there. But it turns out that not a lot of either artists, celebrities, or whatever, not all of them do that. Like most of them actually just sign their name, and that's it. That's all you get. You don't get any of this extra stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it depends on who's doing it and how nice they are, I guess.
Or how much time they have. Yeah.
Or that, yeah. Yeah, and also like the convention that I was at wasn't like a super popular one, so there weren't too many people, right? Like I think if there's fewer people in line, you get to spend more time with somebody, or like the artist or the writer or whatever. They're more willing to like talk to you and like tell you some stories or whatever, or write out more stuff. So I think I just got really lucky that not a lot of people were going for him, which is surprising because he's kind of like he's pretty popular.
All right, let's see what's next.
All right, okay, here we go. This is a good one here. All right, so this is another thing about collecting comics that really like got me like super jacked.
Oh, nice.
So this was another show that I used to watch. So X-Men the Animated Series was another show that I really loved, and that was basically what got me into X-Men.
Jim Lee started.
Yeah, and just to go back to the whole like some of like the iconic comic book people that like really influenced the way I looked at comics was Jim Lee. It's like I appreciate just how like he's still relevant today, and it just like his staying power is like it's just crazy. To go from like Marvel to Image to DC, like I don't think anyone else has kind of done that kind of jump, which is amazing. Anyway,
constantly going up. It's each time.
Oh yeah. Like,
well, because you're showing that off, I'm gonna just show you.
Oh, there it is.
I picked this up. It's actually not just a cover. It's his internal book is internal art as well. This is one of his like earlier works from 1989. But I picked this up for 75 cents. Today, I picked it up today actually. So
nice. We're on the same wavelength.
I love Jim Lee, so yep.
Oh yeah. I mean, he basically made X-Men like cool for like 90s kids. Like that, I was just like, oh my god, like comics can look so amazing. So of course, got his signature here. You got Jim Lee, you got Chris Claremont, the writer, and then you've got Scott
Williams.
Yeah, Scott Williams here. So
that's a trifecta right there.
Exactly. The only thing missing is a Stan Lee signature somewhere, but I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Because I know some people are like, oh, Stan Lee didn't work on that book. I'm like, I know, but he created some of the characters, so Anyway, but that's not what I really like about this book. So this copies of this book they're pretty cheap, right? And so I was like, I want to get a copy so I can have all 3 of these guys sign the book. So I ordered one off of eBay, and then it came in, and I was flipping through it, and I was like, something's weird with this comic book. There's 2 covers on this comic. Okay? And I was like, oh man, this book is defective. This is garbage. Okay. And then I was like, I should look up how much double covers are worth on eBay. And I did not realize that is a thing that people collect. Like double, triple, quadruple covers, like multiple covers is it's a niche collecting thing in the hobby, right?
I think the rule is it's like 4 times more.
Something like that, right? Yeah. And it, of course, like if the book is like a significant book, like first appearance or whatever, of course the value goes up, right? Yep. I mean, this book, it's not like it doesn't have any major deaths, no huge first appearances or anything. It's just like a milestone book. But for it to be a double cover,
is
really rare.
Wow.
And the way CGC grades double covers, which they do, they grade double covers.
On the
way
census, how many are on the census? Double covers.
You know what's funny? I don't know if they identify a book as double cover, which is unfortunate.
But don't they grade the best one? Don't they grade the best cover?
Yes, they do. So that's what they do. CGC, they grade the outside. So this is a double cover, so that means there's two. They take the average or the highest grade of the two covers, and that becomes the grade that they put here, which is really cool because this outside cover was an 8.5, but the inside was a 9.6. So then they just give it a 9.6, which is like kind of crazy that they would do that. But I'm okay with that. But yeah, I don't know. I've only seen one other double cover of this, and that was my copy. But that first copy got lost in the mail, so I know someone stole it. So someone out there has another double cover of this book. But anyway, I would have been the only owner of two double cover copies. Anyway, not bitter. I'm just saying whoever's out there that still has that book.
Don't leave that book around me ever.
I mean, ask all your friends about the chat room, you, everybody. Is it really hard to find the double cover?
Yeah.
Yes.
If a sleepy reader cannot find double cover, but he has like 10,000 comic books, over 10,000 comic books. If he cannot find the double cover,
that's why I always say, if you're a seller or a buyer, always flip through your comics. Especially if you're into double covers, because I'm pretty sure the seller didn't know that he sold me a double cover.
Wow.
He basically sold this to me for cover price.
Yeah.
But if he knew it was a double cover, I bet you it would have been like $100 or $200.
Exactly. Yep.
So, always flip through your books.
Yeah.
You know, this one was an accident.
You might have double covers sitting in your collection. You don't even know.
You might.
I have a two double cover from Image.
Yeah. They're out there.
Same comic book though.
Oh yeah, that's all right. It doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
So that was also like a thing that was like, oh man. And I started hunting. I was like, oh, I better like start looking for these. But it's very difficult, you know. And I haven't actually since that I have not seen another double cover, so it's very rare. Yeah. Let me see. Okay, this one's good. So I don't know how many collectors out there have Golden Age comics. Like, there's not a lot of like modern collectors that have Golden Age books, just because like Golden Age is like very, it's expensive. It's hard to find, and it's a different kind of style of comics, right? Like the art, the storytelling, it's all different. So it's not accessible to a lot of people. But I will explain why I have this book. So I was going through a phase where I was like, oh, I really want to start collecting some Golden Age comic books, right? And of course, like one of the most famous Golden Age comic books is like the Action Comics #1, right? It's where Superman's lifting up the car, right? That's like an iconic pose. And I was like, okay, I'm not a huge DC fan, but I am a Marvel fan. So I should try and find a similar pose from a character lifting something, right? And I was like, I wonder, and I started like looking around. And I see this cover of Captain America, and I'm like, he's literally doing the Superman pose that I was looking for. Like it's like perfect. And I was like, I should just get it because it looks great. What I didn't know was that this cover was done by John Romita. Which for a lot of people, he's like probably one of the most famous Spider-Man artists ever.
He's the Spider-Man artist.
Or you know, hey, you know, if you think John Romita is the Spider-Man artist, then this probably means something to you.
Modern. I mean, that cover looks modern to me.
It does. How can this look so good and only be a 2.5? I'm just saying. No defects.
Yeah.
So anyway. Yeah, well, exactly. But I will say though,
did you buy this raw or did you buy it slabbed?
I bought it slabbed. I would probably never buy a raw Golden Age comic book from someone I didn't know, because one, I don't know enough about Golden Age comic books to be able to like grade it with my own
know
eyes.
if it's restored.
Exactly,
or not, yeah.
exactly. So
Less than 10 bucks or not.
yeah. I mean, okay, look, let me rephrase that. If I was at a convention or like in a comic book store and if someone had this and it was like really affordable, I don't care if it was missing like half the pages, I would still buy it. But I was like, if I'm going to put that much money into a Golden Age comic book, I'm definitely going to get it encapsulated, because then I don't have to worry too much that it's either fake or whatever, right? I don't have to worry about it missing anything. If it's like, restored or whatever, I don't have to worry about it too much. But the other cool thing was that John Romita, he did 3 covers. He did the last 3 covers of the Golden Age Captain America run. And I have all 3 of them, which was like a goal for me. But this one means the most because this was the first one I got. And this was the last cover that he did for this run. So a lot of like little nice, significant things about this book. But really, it's funny because I bought this because he was posing like Superman. That was really the reason why I bought this. Instead of like a car, it's a guy. So
is he a Nazi then?
Yeah. He's a Soviet guy.
Oh, Soviet guy.
Yeah.
That's a nice cover.
Yeah. And I also like where John Romita signed. He signed it right like in the crotch area right there.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Excellent spot.
Wow.
I mean, he could have signed anywhere else, but he wanted to sign right here, so I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like one of my favorite Golden Age comics. I don't have a lot of Golden Age books, but this is definitely like one of my favorite ones. So
great one to have. Yeah. Amazing.
Very good.
Oh man. All right. And this is the last comic that I have. You know how earlier I was talking about how like, I don't have Amazing Fantasy 15. This is not the real one, so everyone can relax.
Yeah, but you always tricked us so far. I mean,
No. You can tell it's the Mexican variant.
Okay.
But so Stan Lee, he was making an appearance at a convention where I live, and I was like, I have to go and see him because he was already sick. He was on his way. I was like, okay, this might be like one of his last appearances ever. And so I went and I had 4 books signed by him. This is one of them. And this was a book that I was like, I wanted a nice copy or just like a cover of this book, but like I wanted something that looked really cool. And so this is the Mexican variant. And what makes it different is that it's kind of like a foil. So the cover is like a smooth, like plastic material. And so it displays really well. It looks very nice. It has like reflective elements on the title. Everything just looks really nice. And here's the back. It just, it says Marvel Classico. Just, so it's a reprint. Anyway, I was like, this would look very cool if I were to display it. It looks very nice. The only problem is that when Stan Lee signed it, he didn't have a very good grip on the pen, and that plus the fact that this cover was like a weird material,
right.
His signature got all smudged.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't even really tell what it is. Like it just looks like a really bad scribble, and like the ink is like, I think the ink is still wet. And this was signed.
It might suck to you.
This was signed in 2018. Like it still looks wet, which is kind of scary. So pro tip, do not have anyone sign a slippery comic book cover with a marker because it will not stick. Yeah. Anyway,
is it still flowing maybe?
What?
Is it still flowing, the ink?
Oh, I know. Yeah. That's why I'm holding it at an angle.
Don't shake it around,
It doesn't drip.
Don't shake it around.
I'm pretty sure if I crack this open, I could probably smudge it off. I'm very positive. But no, this was like I think one of 4 comics where I had him sign it. In person. Okay. And so I was very excited to meet him and have him sign this. And of course, I just wanted him to sign the first appearance of Spider-Man, even if this wasn't the real thing. And yeah, so
beautiful.
I mean, again, this is probably like $50, like the value. Well, the signature.
No, it's a lot more than that.
I was gonna say Well, I will say because the signature is not that great, the people probably argue, oh, the signature is not that great or legible, so
Yeah.
price is not that great, and plus it doesn't look that great, and it's like, yeah, whatever. I'm not selling it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I even spent like the extra $5 for this like J. Scott Campbell Stan Lee label.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy in a little bit, but it's cool. I was like in a like, you know.
Well, you know, I'm glad you brought that up because basically the Stan Lee Foundation, they sold the rights for Marvel to create like CGI and franchise that image.
That's right.
So we're gonna see CGI Stan Lee in upcoming MCU movies, and I don't know how people feel about that, but they're basically gonna keep him alive and in digital, in some kind of as a digital character for however long.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
he's alive and well in the movies now. So
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that too, because they were saying like, oh, they're also going to use him at theme parks, and I think that's even weirder. Like, I don't know if I want to see a young person dressed up in old person makeup, looking like or talking like Stan Lee, or if they're going to hire an older person to pretend like they're Stan Lee, like walking around the park. I don't know. I think that would be weird too.
I'm sure it's going to be a costume, and they're not going to say anything because you know what I mean. It's just going to be one of those, like, he's going to be with Hulk and Spider-Man.
That's true.
This,
yeah.
You know,
or they could have like, you know, a speaker or something, and that just like says like lines from the movie, right?
Exactly.
That'd
like
be pretty weird.
Stanisms.
Yeah, exactly. He'll just say,
yeah.
you
Again,
know, like,
I think for people that grew up reading the comics and knowing Stan Lee, like the man, that'll be weird. It'll be
absolutely.
That.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's always going to be, you know, some people who are like, that's not him, or some people will be like, oh, that's cool. And so
David's okay with the Stan Lee.
Everybody's okay with CGI Stan Lee. Yeah.
See?
We miss Stan, but I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see how they do it. If they do it, because if it's like, you know, like the 5-second cameo where he's doing something funny and it just totally doesn't look like Stan. I don't know. It'd just be weird. It'd be weird to like wrap your head around.
I do agree with you. I think they'll probably get away with it if he doesn't say anything, like you said. You know, like you can just have him show up but like not really. He's just in the background.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's ways to have a Stan Lee presence, you know, in movies. Like you can have like a poster of him, or you could just have like, you know, old recordings, or have like old footage on a TV as if you're watching something. Like there are ways to do that.
Yeah.
But you got to sell that merch, you know.
We'll have to see. Yep.
Let me ask you let me go back to the international comic book. Wouldn't they consider it reprint?
Yeah, I think they did call it. Well, they called it a Mexican edition.
It was a reprint. They had a Mexican, probably like an international editions of it.
Oh yeah. And then it even says on the back, it says it reprints Amazing Fantasy 15 in Spanish.
They're talking about if the international print had a permission to print it for the first time, it's just going to classify that as an international print. And then when they get reprinted there, then it will be considered reprint.
Oh, I see. I thought you were going to say that once an international country gets the rights to print a comic book for the first time, they consider that like a first appearance also, you know?
Yeah, international first print.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I actually bought, because I was on like a Wolverine kick, and I was like, oh man, it'd be really cool to own like Hulk 181, but of course that's too expensive. But they actually, you know, I bought was it a German version? A UK version. So I bought a UK version of Hulk 181, and it's kind of like a magazine size. And I thought that was really cool because one, I could afford it, and two, it actually uses the original cover art, and it didn't fix Hulk's head. So the Hulk's head is actually it was redone by John Romita because Stan Lee said that the Hulk face looked too angry.
Yeah.
So they changed it the last minute. So like if you look at the American version, the UK version, Hulk's face is different. So in the UK version, it's actually the original art. So I was like, oh man, that's so cool. So yeah, and plus it was really affordable. It was like
Also,
only like
when were they printed?
when?
Yeah, when were they
I
printed?
think it was a few years after the American one because like that's always like it international always gets things later, at least back then. And so yeah, they were like, here's the first appearance, and I guess they didn't get all the newest art, so they just got whatever Marvel sent them, and so that's why that art is the original because that's like all they had.
For instance, I'd be okay with I'm looking for Star Wars #1, the original print. But if it's like, let's say it's a Mexican version, if it's printed on the same year, like 79, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. It's just
Do
it just
it, get it.
depends. Yeah.
But I need to find it though. I mean,
So now, Mind Young, I say you just pull the trigger on Star Wars 1 and quit stressing about it.
they're like
get-
$1,000.
get-
Man, I can afford
just get
it.
it.
See?
Just get it. That's your Grail book. Just get
I
it.
mean, I always ask this of a lot of people, and people have asked me this too. They're like, if you could trade your entire collection for one Grail book, would you do it? And when I first started, I was like, you're crazy. Like I like having lots of comics. Like I'm a quantity over quality. I'm like, the more, I don't care if I have 100 okay books, I'm okay with that instead of having one really expensive one. But I feel like now I would trade all my comics for one book.
Which one is that?
That's a good question.
Actually, now that I was thinking I wouldn't before, but now that I had some time to think about it, I would.
Yeah.
I'd easily trade that for.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it really depends on what that is, though. I mean, it really
Sure.
depends. Yeah.
I mean,
Action Comics #1.
That's, but
Yeah,
so are you saying that because that's the book you really want, or because you could sell that?
Oh no! I mean, so I mean, obviously, it's worth it's $1 million book, right?
Oh yeah.
But that's like my favorite character is Superman, and it's just a book. It's like Excalibur. It's Excalibur basically. It's the first real comic book.
Historically, it's like a piece of history, basically.
But I mean, that's that's a comic book. People won't even have like access to in terms of like being able to.
I mean,
like see it even.
Yeah, right? I was gonna say like how many people have actually seen an Action Comics #1?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I have a problem with that one. If I'm getting #1. Do I even have a facility to protect that book? I mean,
yeah.
No.
Wouldn't you just feel paranoid and like you just be sweating and not sleeping because you have this book that like people want.
People want,
yeah. Like I have
to put it in a bank. You have to put it in a bank safety deposit.
It's just too much work,
Yeah. That is a lot of work, and you have to have insured, and you'd have to.
It's just like a whole thing, and like you have to involve so many people, and it's just like,
I still would.
Oh, sure, of course, yeah.
I mean, my collection's not worth much to begin with, so that's an easy.
Oh yeah,
no-brainer.
I mean, look, even if you combine all my comics, it would not equal. It wouldn't. The value wouldn't equal like an AF-15 or something. But that wouldn't be the book that I would want. I would probably want a 9.8. Amazing Spider-Man #1. That's probably what I would want.
Are there any 9.8?
Amazing Spider-Man? Did they have one?
I don't think there are.
There's probably a 9.6. There's probably
probably a 9.6. Yeah, but I don't think there's a 9.8. Yeah. If there is,
it hasn't seen the light of day. It's probably like in a vault.
It's someone has it. I have to check the census data, but I'm pretty sure there probably one or two exist. But
oh sure, yeah. I mean, whether it's in the census, but yeah, that's what I would do. I think if I could have any book,
ASM1.
it would be a 9.8 ASM1. Yeah.
I would rather have ASM3, to be honest. That's my
Is that Dr. Octopus?
Dr. Octopus. Yeah,
It's a good one. It's a good one.
That's what I consider.
That's a hard book to find.
It is.
It's a hard book to find. Yeah.
But that's just my favorite cover.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, I think out of all the first like villain appearances, I would say either ASM 14, right? Is 14 the Green Goblin? That one, I just like the cover of that one. That looks, I like it. But I will say the reason why I also like ASM 1 is because it's the first appearance of Chameleon.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not even on the cover.
Yeah.
Which is, kind of weird because usually it's like but he is, but he's not. He's like dressed up as Spider-Man. That's the tricky part. But yeah. Craven's a good one too. I like that cover, like him, like Spider-Man in a.
I'm gonna dig this a little bit further. Okay, you could easily say I'm gonna trade away all the runs. When you do all those anything in between your runs, right? Now, so pick out those books that's not part of those books where you could easily trade it away.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say pick up 5 books right now, and those 5 books, what would you trade with? Those, top 5 books
that I want in my collection.
Yeah, the top 5 books.
Top 5 that I would want, or top 5 that I would trade.
No, top 5 books that you have that you value right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you take that 5 books, we'll assume that you're gonna, trade away the rest of them fine because they have this part of your runs and stuff, right? I mean, most books don't have that kind of a personal attachment. But pick a top 5 book that you have personal attachment to, and then would you trade that to?
Oh, I see.
Would you trade that to what the best book that you could get?
Got it. Okay. Okay, so for example, the books I showed you, would I trade all of those? Would I trade those 5 for a 9.8 ASM1? Is that like the scenario?
You probably will trade for ASM1 because you already said it. But what would be the best book that you could trade that for?
Yeah.
Like what would be a good, I guess, like you think would be equivalent value of the 5 best books in your
personal value? I mean, not just financial value, but personal value.
Yeah. Well,
that's a hard question, though. I think you have to think about it, right? Because it's not something.
Well, like I said, that sketch by Roy Thomas, it's not worth a lot. Yeah.
Priceless to you.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that's a tricky question because like, would I trade that sketch for a 9 point? Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course I would. I'm not an idiot. I would do it. I would be sad about it, but I mean, look, a 9.8 ASM1. You have to be crazy. You have to be crazy.
ASM1. You already said it.
Yeah.
ASM1.
I'm just.
That's the only thing you'd want, I think.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would trade it. I would trade it. Like, okay, look, every time someone says this is not for sale, like if someone offered you enough money, you would sell it. Let's just be honest.
Okay, everybody has a price.
Of course. There it is. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So it sounds to me like you're a Spider-Man collector, right? You collect Spider-Man.
Yeah, that'd be a.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it sounds to me like you probably have a lot of Romita Spider-Man, maybe like his entire run of Spider-Man or close to it.
I mean, I used to. I don't anymore. But there was the thing about runs is like, I think I could never do a complete run because I would want every book to be like a consistent grade. Like I would all want them to be like super high grade, right? And I just don't know if I have like I don't have the discipline or the patience to find a high grade of a book in a run.
There are people who
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and they do succeed at it. I mean,
Totally. I am not one of
nine
those people.
sixes, yeah.
I cannot. There's a guy who only collects 5.0s, of like really high grade books, but it has to be a 5.0. And I'm like, man, I can't do that. I just,
Yeah.
Only
I
click
used to,
5.0, why?
5.0 used to be my like cutoff line, but now that I'm looking at these bigger, like you said, now that I'm looking at some of the bigger books, I'm like, at this point, really, any grade would be great.
low grade is better than
Yeah,
no grade.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
my favorite. And it's true. It's true. That's the only way, like, again, I don't have a ton of money. I'm not connected. I don't have like resources like I don't work in a comic book shop or industry. So there's no way someone like me could ever afford, a super high end book.
Yeah.
What about those guys who's suggesting that the hobby can pay for itself?
I mean,
It can. If
yeah,
you're dedicated, yeah.
I mean, it's a job. If collecting comics and selling comics and flipping comics is and speculation, like if that's your job, you can definitely do that. That's and there are a lot of people who make tons of money from that. And again, I just don't have
what what's interesting to see on YouTube actually, because you have it's a community, right? So you have a huge diverse group of people from all classes, all walks of life, all ages, all different generations, different races, different genders and sexualities. It's really a diverse mix of people who all have one common sort of love of these like books. But what I find interesting is there are those people on the internet who buy collections, which is really, if you're going to sell, if you're looking to sell comic books, you want to buy collections in bulk. And then, but that's the thing, once you make that decision, once you make the decision to buy like 10,000 books, 20,000 books, however big that collection is, you're really making a commitment to selling books and turning those the profit margins from that, right? If you're looking to just buy a collection and that is your PC collection, I mean, kudos to you, but for those, but I see people like doing these like, I just bought a collection kind of thing, and I just look at that and I'm like, I have no interest in doing that. Think about the time and effort you need to spend.
Well, that's what they're interested in doing. I mean,
yeah, it's what they're interested in doing, but that's, for me, that's work. That's like,
that's a lot of work.
You're literally paying to like now spend time to try and flip these books, and which is great. I think selling is a great thing, but if you're a real collector, I don't think that's where you should focus your resources and efforts as a collector.
Yeah. I mean, some people like, buying collections and then over time going through them and flipping them. That's like a, I could see that as a therapeutic thing. I do that too. Like just going through your collection it's relaxing. And if it's a job, then that's, you're being paid based on like what you can sell. So I could see that it's time consuming for sure, which is why I don't have the space to buy collections. That's the other thing. I'm getting rid of comics because I'm out of space, but for people who have the time, and because I would love to spend an afternoon or a day just going through comics, even if I don't necessarily read them all or know what they are, but like that's still fun for me to do. But
I think if you're really wanting to buy a huge run or something, buying a huge collection makes sense. But again, just know, like, again, it's about resources and time and all that. So if you have money and you think you're getting value, but you're spending a lot of money on a collection that maybe you won't be able to, again, sell everyone or flip everyone, you gotta really be careful, because that's, again, you're falling down a rabbit hole that maybe you can't get out of. So
Yeah, and then also like then you're stuck with inventory that
Exactly.
you can't get rid of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that would be like that would be my biggest problem is like, what do I do with these books that I can't sell? You know, you don't want to throw them away, especially if they're like in really nice condition. You know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would have a hard time throwing away books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I've been doing
It's
is
not
like,
what they think. I would have a hard time throwing those away.
there was a while where I was like, I'll just toss this one issue in the garbage. But then it became like, I'll just throw these 3 issues in the garbage. I'm like,
Don't do that.
No, yeah. And I was like,
at least, yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, I should just donate these to my local comic shop, you know, and they can either give them out for free or whatever. And that's what I've been doing. It's like, you know, I have like long boxes of comics that I don't even know how I acquired them. It just ended up with me. And I was like, I don't read these. I don't want them. And what do I do with them? And it's like, I'll just sell them or give them to my local comic shop. Like, here, I have like 300 comic books I don't care about. You want them for $50? Like, and then yeah, sure. I'm like, oh, great. So not only did I make some money back, but I also got rid of I made more space for other stuff. So that would be my fear.
It's about space. Yeah. Know your space. Know, you know, I know that it starts with, you know, oh, I need another long box. It's like, think about it. Do you have space for another long box? That's a conversation you have.
For AznFunk, what if you don't mind me asking, what national? What ethnic background?
I am Chinese.
Chinese.
But, okay. American Chinese American.
Chinese American.
Yeah, but I have been mistaken for Korean.
You look at Korean,
yeah. I think it's the hair, and then Filipino sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get mistaken for Chinese all the time.
I get mistaken for Vietnamese. No, I think maybe because my name.
Yeah.
I get mistaken for Chinese in China. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to like China or Beijing or Shanghai, but you know, like they can easily spot if you're not from around there. Even if you don't say anything, they can tell because you're a lot taller than like the average person that is from there. Like you're just like a head taller than everyone because you know the diet here is different.
Yeah.
So they can tell you're like, oh, you're not from around here.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I always thought that was interesting. Like,
I got it all the time at airports and also when I was in Hong Kong and when I was in Shanghai. So, yeah.
That's
I'm only 5'6" or 5'7" around there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm only 5'9". 5'9".
You have the same height.
I'm not like super tall, you know. But
so when I go to Korea, I mean, I think I went to Korea first time I went there, like it's been 30 years since I've been there, right? So I'm used to seeing people here, and I went there, and all of a sudden I'm sort of looking down, I'm not looking up.
Oh, that's funny.
I think my body language has changed quite a bit. But
that's funny. I like that.
Well, yeah, I will say this. When I was in Korea, I mean, the younger generation, their diet improved, and so you saw this growth spurt. So
they're not taller now. But
younger people are.
I would agree with that. I would agree.
People here in America. But,
yep, that is true.
Okay, so you know we've been talking. We had a lot of people on, and thank you for showing off those wonderful books. I think oftentimes, you know, when we have people on, they bring out the books that they cherish, and I can really got the sense from you that these are books that you really, you know, cherished and put a lot of you know, importance behind owning them. But we've also been talking this month because we lost 2 legendary creators this month. First, we got news of Neil Adams passing, and then a week later, we got word that George Perez had passed away. And so for me, like it was, I don't know about younger collectors, but I guess even for like the older collectors, knowing all the great work that they did, what did the as a collector, what did that loss mean for you? And um, did you have any engagements with them? During your like Comic Cons and whatnot.
So I've never met either one in person. But it's funny because I think when an artist or a creator or writer passes away, the one like silver lining is that their work gets highlighted to everyone. And I wasn't like the biggest fan of either one, but I didn't realize how many books I had from both of them. And like even covers that I liked, it didn't really register that it was them, it was their work. So then it makes you look at your collection differently. Like I had a sketch from Neil Adams, and I just like, I liked Batman and I liked the way he drew it, but I didn't really like care too much about who it was until like I was like, oh, Neil Adams, like I didn't know he was doing any sketches like this. And so I was like, that's cool. And then same thing with George Perez, where I had 2 slabs from him, like by him, and they were like the only 9 nines that I have in my collection. And it's funny because I'm not even, they're 9.1. Yeah, wait, yeah, one of them was a 9.9, I think. Yeah, sorry. So I have two books by him. They're like, I think it was like JLA versus Avengers or something like that. But yeah, these are old slabs. They're both 9 nines. Can
you get those books? I don't know why you wouldn't show those off, but do you have those readily available?
I wanted to. Okay, so I'm rearranging my collection. They are in a box somewhere.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to share it with us at some point.
Oh, yeah. I will. Yeah. So
that's
I didn't know that I forgot I had them, and I bought them because they were 9 nines, not because I was a huge fan of George Perez, but like it just goes to show that like, you know, there are probably people out there who have their work and don't even realize it. And then it makes you like, reevaluate, like, okay, this guy is like a significant person in the community, in like comic book history. So it's like, I think it's good that like work like that is highlighted again, because then it shows like, you know, I'm not that old, and I came into collecting in the 90s, which is, you know, for a lot of people way past when Neil Adams and George Perez were like already big names. Like I came in later. So to see my peers, you know, who are actual fans, like, oh, this is my favorite storyline, this is my favorite like issue, then you're like, oh, okay, cool, I'll look into that. And so then you realize like, oh, that really was good, or like, or whatever. So but yeah, that's, I think that's like what my experience was with those 2 passing and so close together, which is kind of crazy.
Books like a crossover, books like Justice League against Avengers. Normally, those books involve a bunch of different creators.
Mm-hmm.
Like if somebody's drawing Superman, it would be from DC artists, and somebody Spider-Man, it would be Marvel artists, and so on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Who was the Marvel? Was that a Marvel artist or a separate Marvel artist on that, or was it all George Perez?
I think the one I had, it might have been, the cover was him. It was the one where Superman's holding Thor's hammer and Captain America's shield. That's like one of my favorite covers.
Wow. I would get that because, I mean, I don't know what the value is, but
I just see, this is the thing. I was just like, I just like that cover.
Yeah.
I didn't know the
it was like
who knew
Avenger versus
the legendary artist. And that's just
I bought that before like Avengers Endgame came out, before like everyone's going crazy over like someone else holding the hammer. I just was like, that, not only for it to be someone else, but for it to be a DC character, I was like, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably my favorite George Perez cover.
Wow.
So,
you get a 9 9 in that.
A 9 9, yeah.
Oh wow.
I really should have.
Wow.
Yeah, I really should bring that out. But
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, I told you, like, he has these like amazing books. I'm sure the 5 you brought were great, but I'm sure you also have a lot of other like amazing cool stuff. So again, we'll probably have you on the show again.
you just need to bring me back, and I'll
show-
have 5 other ones.
and have you show off like 100 of your books.
Oh,
It's like 20 books, okay?
I know. You only said 5. So
Yeah,
I looked for
It's
5.
our fault.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so it is Asian American Pacific Islander Month, and what's amazing about us featuring all these people this month, you included, is just the amount of, I think, representation in the community. Now, there's not a lot of people doing YouTube channels, and I think you find pockets here and there of people like us just getting on and talking about our love for the books. But definitely, you have a higher presence, a higher sort of recognition on the platform, and I think, again, you do a lot for our community just by having that high presence and being engaged and being yourself, like just being yourself and showing the passion you have for the hobby. What does it mean to you to, first of all, kind of represent the community? I don't, maybe you don't see yourself in that light, but what does it mean to you to be a part of this community? Being part of the community you're directly linked with, they're growing up in the Bay Area, right? Yeah. Yeah. What does it mean to be Chinese American for you as a collector?
And it's funny, when I started my channel, I was expecting like, okay, there's probably going to be like dozens and dozens of other, like Asian comic book YouTube channels. There weren't a ton. And I would have thought by 2020, there must be like, and I'm sure there are, but like there weren't ones that like easily showed up as like recommended, or like, oh, this channel has like, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And just even in the comic book YouTube community, there's not that many that have more than like 10,000 subscribers. Like there's like a handful who have like 20 or whatever, but like most of
Asian American.
Yeah. Like I mean like I only know like a handful.
ETA Nick is the biggest one I could think of as Asian American.
Right.
ETA Nick is big.
But
he's been doing it for a lot longer, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, not okay. So yeah, I mean, not like, I'm not even talking about like established ones. I'm just talking about like new ones. Like you would think every day there would be at least like another one, but like no, it was really surprising. Like Simple Simon was one of the only other ones. Like Chunks Comics is the new too, but he's he only came in like I think pretty recently too. But yeah, there's not that many. And I was kind of surprised. And YouTube is hard, right? Like it's not like it's a lot of work to do this. So I don't, I completely understand. Like even me, I've gotten lazy on my channel too. But yeah, I think
Slim.
huh?
Slims and Comic more.
Oh yeah, I can't forget about Slim.
Slim is awesome.
Yeah, Slim's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice that, it's nice to, I guess, have people who actually enjoy the channel, because it lets you know that like, okay, there are people who, it's not about necessarily like, if you're Asian or not, but like, as long as the content is good, but it's a little extra to know that like, I'm representing a group that isn't, I know there there's like hundreds and millions of like Asian comic collectors out there. There are, and so
you think so?
Oh, I'm sure. There's gotta be. They just don't have they just don't have YouTube channels.
Yeah, they just don't have YouTube channels.
So it's nice to to give to say, hey, like you can do this too. We're out there. We're just not on YouTube. So I was surprised to find that there weren't as many as I thought, but you know, and it was scary in the beginning. Like, you know, you think, you know, the community's gonna be like, oh, you don't have enough comic books, or you don't have enough, you're too young to understand. And that was also the other thing, right? Like, you know, besides, you know, not having a lot of other Asian comic book collectors out there, but like a lot of them are already older. They're all like established collectors that have been doing this for years. And there wasn't like a huge crop of just like younger YouTubers in the comic community, right?
By the way, I've been away from collecting for 40 years, so I'm just as new as you guys. I just look old. Okay.
Yeah. No, I know, and it's like, you know, there's no wrong time to start a channel, or even like start following, you know, other comic book YouTubers out there. And there's a lot out there. And it's like you have to find them. YouTube does a very bad job of recommending new channels. But yeah, I think it's nice to represent a different group of comic book YouTubers out there, and especially like Asian American. I think that's also another level that's hard to find.
Yeah.
And you know, especially for me in California, it was what's his name? There's another guy who was also starting his channel too, and it turned out that he was following me, and we met at a convention by accident. And they were like, "Oh my God, you know, it's nice to know that there are also people who are local, who can also be like fans of each other," which I thought was really cool. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I kept going in the comic community, because like everyone's just like so great. So especially if like
it's a great community.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. Like I used to live in Mountain View many years ago, and you know, I just remember all my great friends that I made out there, and so watching your channel, it just kind of reminds me of like the area, and you know, like collectors out there, just that my time out there with my friends, and that was nice to see. Like it was kind of nice to see that Bay Area culture coming out in your, like, you know, going out to cons and hunts and whatnot. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
When you're doing your video today about I guess it's a week ago, you're doing your friend's video. I mean, you're opening your friend's.
And this okay. So this is
often, or is that something new?
No, I've been doing it for a few years, which I'm surprised no one else has tried to do. But I understand, because like when you get a box from CGC, you want to open it, you want to unbox it. But for whatever reason, you know, my friend Simpson, he's real, and he's also Asian. He's like, well, it's more like he wants to help me out. He's like, oh, you need more unboxing content, because that's what people want to watch, which is true. My unboxing videos are, you know, the ones people want to watch. And so he like whenever he gets a shipment back, he always visits me, and he's like, I got another.
He gets the best grades too.
He does. He's really good. He's all about the grade. And so it's fun, because I already went through that phase where I was like, I'm submitting books all the time and getting them back, but I've slowed down so much. And he, you know, I only do like one here, one there, you know, but he likes to get, you know, he's always like getting a sketch or a signature from someone. And so when his books are way more interesting than mine, like he's all about like, he's all about the celebrities, and he's all about like sketches from like foreign artists. So he's all about international books. Like, yeah, his taste is very interesting. So I think it's good for me, because then I get to see another collector's taste in comics that I never would buy myself. So it's always fun. And plus I don't know what he's buying, so that's part of like the fun. But yeah, I'm surprised no one else has been like, oh, I'll let my buddy open my book.
The reason I get on YouTube, because I don't have people who does this. Right? I think I honestly think collecting collecting hobby requires a little community where people can talk about it. Before I can talk about my comic book, I probably won't collect them anymore. You know, I would probably forget about it. You know. But,
yeah, well, it's nice.
Actually, I'm a little different. When I was collecting, it was always sort of a thing I did by myself. I didn't tell people, "Hey, I'm a comic book collector."
Alex, next week, Alex, you be next.
Yep, or advertise that. But what I found is now that I've gotten back into the hobby, and especially connecting with Naman and all these great people in the community, I do realize it's a lot more fun to kind of, not just be focused on what you're collecting and what you like, but kind of what the larger community is into, and just listening to the stories of like what they pick up and who they meet or their connections with artists and stuff. So that for me, that's been a new sort of appreciation that I have for a newfound appreciation I have for the hobby. Now, before we don't have much time left, but before we go, you mentioned you love Jim Lee. And now we do want to focus on the fact that there's been a lot of great, Asian American comic book artists. And of course, Jim Lee is one of the more high profile ones. And he kind of came around at a point where he got a lot of recognition, and that opened the doors for more and more Asian artists. But right now, there's Asian Americans are really killing and you're a cover guy. They're killing the cover variant game.
Oh yeah.
And you got Archer, you got Peach Momoko, you've got Dave Nakayama.
Yep.
You got all these guys.
Love that guy. Yep.
Yeah. Are there any Asian American artists that you collect and that you're focused on, and why?
Yeah, I think, you named a couple, like in terms of covers, like David Nakayama. I've had a chance to speak with him a few times, and it's funny, like when you speak to like a creator or an artist, you end up liking their work even more after you've talked to them, because then they tell you about like, oh, I like to do this because of like this, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that is interesting. And so like, and it can also backfire, because now like I like his work so much that it's almost like I have to stop myself from buying all his. And
I know we had it over like a week ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? We had David Nakayama, then we had John Boy Myers. So I'm happy to collect those guys. And
and
over to I think we're gonna have, what's his name, over Greg
Glegorok.
I cannot pronounce that name.
Glegorok. We're gonna have great. Well, so let's not give that away yet, but there's a chance. There's a chance. I want to keep people
it's okay.
uncertain about it, but there's a chance that we're going to get Greg LaRocque on the show. So that'll be pretty amazing.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Yeah, it's funny. I tried to get Will Spertasio. He collaborated with Jim Lee, inker. I've been trying to get him on my channel for like years, but like he's too busy, teaching other people how to draw. And so I'm like, okay, well, I guess you should do something for the, you're doing something good for the world, and instead of being on my channel. But anyway, I've been trying to get him on my channel for years. So he would be like a dream to have, but
oh yeah, he's a legend. He's like, it's like getting Jim Lee.
It is. I know. Well, see, that's the step, right? If you get Will, then you can move up to Jim Lee. That's the progression.
So Naman and I, we have a goal to bring Jim Lee on to this.
Oh man,
on our platform at some point.
Make it happen.
Yeah, and so Jim, we're talking to you, Jim Lee. Have your people reach out to our people, and we'll set it up, and you can be on this show and draw and do whatever you want. But we love you, we adore you. You're the master. But yeah, again, back to the artists that you, again, obviously Will Spertasio is a legend. Any other artists?
I'm probably gonna butcher his name, but Dike Ruan. he did a line of like a run of like the recent Shang-Chi with writer Gene Yang, who I interviewed. Like, so in terms of writers, he's really great because he kind of had the challenge of like making Shang-Chi like not a stereotypical Asian character anymore. So, but yeah, I think Dyke is like one of my favorite like interior artists right now. Like I think the way he draws, it kind of looks like like everything's always moving, which is kind of cool. You don't really see that a lot where like even if they're just standing there, they still look like in motion, which is kind of neat. Let's see. But yeah, and you mentioned Art Germ. Yeah, I you know, it's funny. Okay. I used to not like Art Germ's work because all the female characters they all looked the same to me for the longest time. Yeah, like my friend Simpson, he's the one who introduced me to Art Germ, and I was just like, he draws the same character, like the same. He draws the same pose and face for every character the same way, and I was just like, I don't get it. Until he drew a cover for, I think it was probably for like Detective Comics like 1000 or something. It was like an anniversary thing, and he did a cover of Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Harley Quinn. The three of them were on a cover, and he did it in a vintage, like golden age style. Like he wasn't using his typical like computer style. It was like done with like, you know, it was like done like with lines and like it looked like an old comic book. And that was the cover that like converted me to his work. And it made me realize like, okay, he can draw in not only a different style, but like he does more than just like what, you know, he does a lot. But like now that I know he can do this, it made me appreciate all his other work. So that was really the cover that converted me. And then like also like you mentioned Peach. Like it's funny too because I tried to ask her to be on my channel right before she became super popular.
Oh.
And so the way that happened was I reached out to her it was probably on Instagram, and she replied and said, "Oh, you know, I might have some free time like next month or something." And I said, "Great, I'll reach out next month." And 2 weeks later, she releases a cover that becomes super popular, and then she announces that she's doing a whole Marvel anime trading card set. And then she becomes super popular. And then when I messaged her again a month later, I said, "Hey, I just want to say I saw your new cover, and you're going to be the artist for this trading card." You know, her manager replied to me and said, "Peach doesn't do interviews." And I was just like, "Damn it."
Yeah.
Damn it. I missed her by like a month.
Suddenly her English gets a lot worse.
It's just like, I couldn't believe.
Popularity scares.
I know. And I was like, damn, so close. Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to get her on our show, and again, crickets.
Yeah. I know. It's just like,
we love her artwork. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Her.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's on another level. I feel like there's artists, right? There's like comic book artists, and then there's artists like she's definitely like she's on another, like she could literally like put her stuff up in a gallery and like and just sell them.
Well, she's one of those people who they weren't planning to do anything for comics or anything. Like they were legitimately like, I want to do art. And then it was like, "You want to do your art for comics?" And then she was like, "Sure." And it just So
and she had this innate sense of like what it was. I think partly because she did read manga. Everyone reads manga growing up in Japan because it's like the culture there, right? It's like there's so many different types of comic books for every person and generation. But she grew up reading manga, so I mean, she as an artist, she was like probably copying what she saw in the comic books. There.
Watercolor is so much more difficult than the.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
she's on another level because like to get that precision with the brush techniques and everything, it's just you just can't do that. I
most
mean,
of our work is
most people just
watercolor,
can't do that.
so.
Well, it's funny because, you know, that's what like Marvel and DC do now. Like they don't just go after artists who are comic book people, but they also go for people who aren't comic book people. And usually sometimes when that happens, it backfires because you can tell if someone is a fan of that character because they got something wrong. Like there's a detail they didn't, like, you know, there's something, you have to get all the small details of a character right to know if they're a fan. And you can tell that Peach is a fan because she's gotten all those details right. Like I've seen artists draw like long shot with like 5 fingers, and it's like he doesn't have 5 fingers, he's got 4. So like there's like little things like that where you're like, yeah, you're not really a fan. Like you probably just looked him up, and then you're like, okay, he wears black and he's got like a brown belt and he's got a mullet. But you didn't see that like he's got 4 fingers and he's, you know, like little things like that. So but Peach is definitely she's a comic book fan that you can tell.
Cool.
Yeah, I just love. So again, I think I mentioned this on my channel as well. But what she did with that Sunfire cover, where
that one?
it's a one that came out, but it's the detail she put in his mask, because normally the previous renditions of that mask you didn't get a sense that it was anything special, but when she did that mask, oh my goodness, it brought a total. Like it brought like an aspect of the character, like a noble aspect of the character that. Yeah. Are you looking at it?
Yep.
It's an amazing rendition of Sunfire, probably the best ever. And the fact that, you know, a Japanese artist did a Japanese character, that kind of justice for me was like spoke volumes. So that's one of my favorite works by her for sure. But those little subtleties, like you're right, like either you spend a lot of time studying it or you're a fan. Those are the only two things.
Right. Yeah. Or it's like, you know, this is my interpretation. It's like, and I get that, but also like you still can't like just add. You just can't change a particular characteristic, right? Like you can take liberties on like how many muscles Wolverine has. That's fine, but you still have to give him 3 claws. Like you can't just take one out because then that's a different character.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff, he was here. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Good night, Jeffrey. All right. Well,
if we want to talk more, we could go inside the studio, but let's close up.
Yep. Let's close up.
1:30.
Show though.
You want to share what you're going to have on your something in your future for your channel? Yeah.
Oh, me? Oh man. You know what's funny? I've neglected my channel. Like I know I've been releasing videos, but you know, they haven't been like I'm doing a giveaway really soon because I want to really like get people excited again. And so I have a huge like I said, I've been trying to downsize my collection. And so I've set aside half of my collection I didn't want, and I sold it to my comic book shop. And the other half, I'm going to do a giveaway, and it's going to be very exciting. So I just need to do it.
Any Jim Lee books?
Ooh. I'll check. If there is, I'll let you know, and then you'll know when the giveaway is, and you'll have to just There's
I'm all in that giveaway. If there's or any Peach Momoko books, any Peach.
I think those are going to stay with me. I don't have too many Peach ones, but yeah. I'll let you know.
Okay.
But yeah, so
that sounds really fun though. I mean
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And you're doing a lot of giveaways.
Yeah. And this is one of those like, you know, it's a winner takes all. Like only one person's gonna get like 40.
So the people who stay this late, they get this great news.
They're gonna it's a sneak peek. Yeah. So
wow, 40 like slabbed or just.
It's probably 30, but you know, it's going to be a lot. I'm trying to I want to get rid of them. And so the best, and I don't, you know, it's like some of these I know people want, so I'll give them what they want.
All right. I'm there.
What about you, Otaku? You got anything on your channel coming up?
Well, so I've got I picked up some comics today, and I do these like really, like $5 hauls.
Mhm.
But I picked up some key Jim Lee books, at least key for me. And so I'll be doing like a comic haul video soon. I picked them up today, but I'm gonna wait on it because I have another book that I'm eyeing. And so if I pick that up, I'll just introduce all of them at once. So
Yeah.
yeah. But again, I think I showed one of them. This is
that's a
one of
nice
the
one.
books. Punisher War Journal number 8. Again, I picked it up for 75 cents. Jim Lee interior work, early work. Just doesn't get better than that. Punisher cover. Yeah, that's about it. And again, we're gonna be interviewing some really legendary comic book artists coming up, so you don't want to miss that.
Tomorrow we're gonna have
Ernie Chang. We're gonna have Ernie Chang tomorrow.
He's an animator.
Morning.
Animator.
Not the Ernie Chang. Not the Ernie Chang you're thinking of.
Oh, okay. I was
He's
like,
he's not.
But he's a animator from animator supervisor from what's that company?
DreamWorks.
oh wow, okay,
Yeah, so
that's cool.
He does basically CGI animation.
That's
and
cool.
We're also gonna have Slim. We'll have Slim back on. We can't do Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month without Slim from Slim.
Yeah,
Comics,
you can't.
So.
He won't allow it.
Yeah. Actually, he didn't want to be on. We had to
That sounds like him.
coerce him
I don't care. I don't want to
away
do
from
it.
his family. So, but he's going to be on. And again, we've got like 2 more weeks of this, Heritage Month left. So we're going to kind of go out with a bang. So keep following us, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you.
We may call all you guys back on the last day.
We may, yeah. We're trying to have as many people back on as we can.
Meet the artists and everything. All right. Thanks, chat room, for staying this late. Thanks for showing up, guys. Good night.
See ya.